What's so important?
Well, they're here. The end times get end times.
When most people think about UFOs or UFO sightings, they think about it in terms of our time. But what about the past? Were other generations witnessing strange lights in the sky? I found this old book that was published in 1970 that has some very intriguing information printed in it. A lot of the stories I'm about to read to you have been lost to history. Until now, that is. 1893. In Wales, some 8 or 10 lights were seen at times, gyrating through the sky in astounding fashion, going up and down rapidly, then zigzagging, all in perfect formation, like a fleet of airships. 1887. If a ball of fire falls into the sea, it can be called a meteor. But what if a ball of flame rises up out of the sea? Such was witnessed by the bug-eyed crew aboard the British steamer Siberian on November 12th of that year. The object rose to a height of 50 feet over the water, darted close to the ship, then sped away, out of sight. Ships were a prime source of UFO sightings in the 19th century. One of the most repeated phenomenon reported by 24 ships or more was typified by the following account. May 15th, 1879. Commander Pringle of the HMS Vulture of the Persian Gulf put in his log that 2 incredible objects were pacing his ship, both submerged but glowing brightly. On looking towards the east, he wrote, the appearance was that of a revolving wheel whose spokes were illuminated, and, looking to the west, a similar wheel appeared to be revolving in the opposite direction. 1845. Substantiating the above, the brig Victoria, on June 18th in the Mediterranean, came upon 3 luminous bodies that rose silently and mysteriously out of the sea, remaining within sight for some 10 minutes in the air in slow maneuvers. 1883. An inexplicable phenomenon witnessed by thousands of people on both the Canadian and American sides, as a UFO shaped like a square table hovered above Niagara Falls for 1 hour. May 15th, 1811. The people of Geneva, Switzerland, saw an aerial show never before seen. It was an odd UFO, one that seemed to change shape from a glowing serpent to a horseshoe and to a crescent. August 10th, 1809. John Stavely of London perhaps witnessed the first authentic appearance of a mothership and its attendant saucers. Although he hardly recognized it as such, I saw many meteors coming around the edge of a black cloud, from which lightning flashed. They were like dazzling specks of light dancing and traipsing through the clouds. November 17th, 1882. At the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, was observing an aurora display when a greenish blob crossed his field of vision. Some adjustment of his focus resolved the object into a cigar shape that passed above the moon. It appeared to be a definite body, Maunder said flatly. September 7th, 1820. During an eclipse of the moon, several astronomers reported the same thing, strange objects moving in straight lines, evenly spaced, that crossed the face of the moon slowly and made turns in military precision. August 12, 1883. This is one of the most famous and baffling of all the astronomical UFOs observed. Professor Jose Bonilla, director of the Astronomical Observatory at Zacatecas, Mexico, was recording sunspots when suddenly a small luminous body began crossing the disk of the sun. No sooner had he gotten over his first surprise than another such body appeared, then another, and another, and more. In the space of 2 hours, he said, I counted up to 283 bodies crossing the solar disk. These UFO sightings don't just stop in the 1800s. You can trace them all the way back through history. 1551 AD, red rods were seen above Lisbon, Portugal, floating and flying through the sky. 1387 AD, in England, a burning revolving wheel was seen also around a barrel of flame. 1254 AD, in the sky appeared a kind of large ship, elegantly shaped and well equipped, and of marvelous color.
It was red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black.
1168 AD, a globe of fire was seen moving to and fro in the air. 919 AD, a thing like a burning torch cruised in the sky, and glistening balls sailed over Hungary. 1577 AD, an object like a lance passed across the sky. 98 AD, in Italy, another burning torch was observed, probably quite like the flaming red ball-shaped UFOs seen today. 12 AD, in old Irish manuscripts, there's one tale very likely based on truth. Ancient Erie, Ireland, an anchor suddenly dropped from the sky and hooked itself into a church steeple. The townspeople then saw a ship in the sky with men aboard. One man climbed down the cable as if to free the anchor, and his motion was like that of a man swimming in water. Some of the watching men wanted to dash up to the steeple and capture the skyman, but the bishop forbade them. The strange being returned to his craft without finishing his job, but they cut the cable and the vessel vanished into the sky. Now, there are thousands of more UFO reports that date back to the beginning of time. But what about actual evidence? As reported in the Scientific American in 1851, rock was being blasted apart in a New England community. Among the shattered stone debris was found a metallic vessel broken in two. When placed together, they formed a bell-shaped chalice about 4.5 inches high and 6.5 inches wide, made of zinc impregnated with silver. There are intricate flower designs all over it, inlaid in silver. It came from 15 feet down in solid rock, reported in 1845 and still existing. Is a nail of obvious manufacture that was found in a stone block from the Kind Goody quarry in North Britain. The nail was half embedded in stone, half in till, which is the crumbly matter churned up by the glacial ages. If the nail originally rested in the solid stone, it is millions of years old. Again in a quarry in 1844, near Tweed, England, workmen discovered gold thread encased 8 feet beneath the surface of the stone bed. In 1851, another cut iron nail, 6 penny sized and only slightly corroded, fell out when a man dropped a piece of auriferous quartz. In 1833, they found a coin 30 feet deep in the ground, and it was about the size of a shilling. Despite the long burial, the markings were distinct, representing a warrior or a hunter of Roman appearance, but no Roman coins of that type were ever struck. In 1891, Mrs. Culp of Morrisonville, Illinois, was shoveling coal into her kitchen stove when a large lump broke in two. Exposed to her astonished view was an intricate gold chain, as finely worked as anything jewelers can make today. In Salzburg, Austria, and now in museum, a block of coal from the Miocene strata yielded a perfectly machined cube of steel with slightly convex but symmetrical top and bottom side, with a cut groove running precisely all around its middle. Examined by dozens of scientists, technicians, and steel experts, all of them declared it could not be possibly natural and was positively artificial. An artifact made by the hands of human or otherwise.